Yo, what's going on everyone? King here, back for another video. So, as the title of this video suggests, do heirs have to live on property? In this case, heir property. Or let's take a step further, right? To own property, do you have to live on said property that you purchased or is passed down to you from your family or whoever, right? Making it heir property. The answer is no, especially here in the state of South Carolina. There is no law, there is no provision under South Carolina law that requires a person to own property. In order to own property, has to live on said property. There is no law, there is no provision. Especially, the same goes for heir property. You know, and I bring this title up, this discussion up because for those who have been watching my video, been following me, know that I have brought forth a lawsuit against members of my family who sit on the board and others. And I've been involved in and tried to preserve and protect this heir property since 2016 when I hired a lawyer to bring forth a case to acquire title to the property and resolve the legal issues. But the board, let me go back one. So in November of 2022, by way of my attorney, we served the board, who were the defense in this case. We served them with interrogatories and discoveries. So basically questions and requests for them to produce documentation to help our case or to help prove or disprove their case, right? To gather information, discover what evidence is out there, right? In turn, they had the right to do the exact same thing to us, to serve upon us questions and requests for documentation. Well, within the right. And that was in November 2022. So now that it's April 2023, they have done just that. They've served upon me by way of my attorney interrogatories and discovery, requests for production of documents, which is fine. But one of the interrogatories is basically, they're asking, have the plaintiffs ever lived on the property? Now, if you see my other videos, I believe I've talked about this, right? And I even showed the pamphlet from the Center for Heirs Property where it talks about a list of myths, right? What is heirs? What is heirs property? And you know, the do's and don'ts of heir property, and you know, talking about the do's and don'ts of timber, with the risks with trying to harvest timber, and the whole 9 yards, right? So one of the myths is that, do heirs have to live on property? No. Or does a person or heir who lives on said property have more ownership or rights to the property because they live on the property? The answer is no. When it's heir property, then the heirs have an equal amount of share in the property. No one has a greater amount of ownership or interest in a property unless it is deemed by the court. Unless it's broken down in the court that, yep, this person owns X amount of percentage, this person owns this amount, da, 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 da. If it's been divvied up that way, then so be that. But I think it only applies to certain cases, specific cases where it makes sense to do so. But when you have a vast number of people who are supposed to be heirs to a property, it does not make sense because there's a lot of rules and regulations that go into that, right? So you got to be, in order to divide up that property, right, or give a percent of ownership to the heirs, right, it has to be based on value, land value, cost value, right? So everybody's not going to get the same amount of shares or ownership in the property due to the value of the property, depending on where it lies within the property. A corner lot might be worth more than a center lot because that corner lot might have a river, a stream, access to water, a road, whatever the case may be. It may be more developed than the other plot of land, right? But again, going back to what I was saying, that you have a large, vast majority of people that are supposed to be heirs of property, it does not make sense to divvy up that way. But I digress. But the question was, have the plaintiffs ever lived on the property? And the answer, This question is based on a myth. It's based on a fable, a fallacy, a misinformation, feelings more than facts. But it should be based on facts and then based on law. And there's no law restricting a person to own property, to have to live on said property. Right? I can be here in South Carolina but own land in North Carolina. I can live here in South Carolina and own land in Georgia. There is no law prohibiting me from doing so. I can live overseas, right? Serving in the military, serving my country, doing whatever I'm doing, and still have a house or have land here in America. It never has stepped foot on the property. Matter of fact, if you watch another video where I went to my mother's property and cleaned her property, I'll leave a link to that video below. But my mother had that property. She owned that property since the 70s. Not once has she lived on it. Does that mean she can't own it? Does it mean it's not her property? No. It's her property. It's in her name. Right? Now, actually, matter of fact, it's in my name, and I never lived on it, but yet I'm a caretaker of that property. I own that property by way of my mother. So them serving these questions, or this kind of question, on to me and my mother is based on a myth, a fable, right? Kind of like fake news. It's not. I mean, this is based on feelings. I'm gonna prove it. So again, I don't have it right here in front of me. I don't have it on my laptop, but I'll put up on the screen where it talks about in that pamphlet from Heir's property where it says it's a myth. But I did a quick Google or ask a question in Chat GPT, and here's what it says, and I'll put this on the screen too. It says, in South Carolina, there is no legal requirement that an heir has to live on their property. Heir property is property that is owned jointly by heirs of a deceased individual who did not leave a will. Each heir has an equal ownership or interest in the property, and this ownership interest can be passed down through generations. There it is. Here it is. The board is serving this type of question to be answered when they should already know the answer. If they've done their homework, they've done their research, especially if it's coming from a lawyer. If it's signed by a lawyer, right, saying that I need to answer these questions, but yet, did he vet this question? Did he vet the question? Did he make sure that this is, he should already know the answer to that. He should already know the answer. Matter of fact, the board should already know the answer if they've done their homework. But here it is. This is why I'm going to court. This is why I brought forth this lawsuit, because of this type of nonsense, this type of misinformation, right? That's being spread, that's going around saying, oh, well, he never lived on a property, so therefore, really, okay, whatever. But if you watch another video where I posted, it talks about my grandmother said what she said. My late grandmother said what she said. And in that video, she says that she was born and raised on this property, and who her grandfather was, and who her husband was, and who it was. Come on now. Really? Y'all really want to go to that route? But they make a point to say that this is about the Jameses. First of all, it's not about the Jameses, because here's an issue. Although my mother's her maiden name, her birth name, last name is James. She comes from, her father being a James, grandson of Washington James, and my grandmother, her mother, being the granddaughter, one of the grandchildren of Papa Simon Cox. His daughter, Goldie Cox, my grandmother's mother, my great grandmother. So James Cox, what we are, even though we bear the name James, we're also a Cox. My grandmother, Cox. My grandfather, James. So what are they talking about? Here it is again. The Jameses. Did the Jameses do this? The Jameses do that? Stop thinking about the Jameses. This is about doing what's right. Preserving and protecting the property based on rule of war, rule of law, not misinformation, not fallacy, not myths, not hurt feelings, but facts and law. People need to do their homework. They need to do the research. But I want to make this quick video. Just want to put out there that, you know, this is going on. I'm currently away on business, but I will be back in South Carolina to make more videos. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you in another video. Take care. Peace.